All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Creative Cosplay Corner. I am Cable Rose, your host and uber fan of all things cosplay. Today, we have one of my favorites coming to us from the other side of the United States. But today we have Tatted Khaleesi, and I've got a couple things I'm going to learn about her and her cosplay, but I want to introduce Brooke. Brooke, come on the show, introduce yourself, and just tell us about yourself.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I am a cosplayer who started a little later than most people. I'm 26, started last year. I grew up drawing, sketching, creating different costumes. My grandpa got me a She-Hulk comic actually when I was very young, and that kind of spurred everything else. Ended up moving over to DC, was part of a role play group in high school with a bunch of other girls on DeviantArt. We all had our own original characters who were DC Batman verse villains. And from there, it just kind of spiraled. In college, kind of stepped away from my creative streak, and afterwards I realized I really needed it, and ended up falling back into it with cosplay. And it was something I always thought about doing, but was really nervous to try. And I'm really glad I did.
Well, let's talk about that, Brooke, because you said two things. One, I would have never guessed, just having looked at your, your attention to detail and how you put together, or your character choices. And two, just the spectrum of what you've accomplished in just a year. So let's talk about this, because I want to start with your Instagram name, Tatted Khaleesi. And so do me a favor. I don't know if these are the locks. I don't know what this is, but do me a favor. I want to talk about this picture here. So let's look at your character. So tell me about her, tell me about this, and tell me why.
So I had always thought about cosplaying, right? I just kind of mentioned that, but it was something I was a little, I don't know, I was nervous to do it. And when my boyfriend and I decided Game of Thrones had ended, and we said, okay, now that it's done, we're ready to commit to binge watching it one season on every Sunday for 2 months. So we did that. And I believe it was the first Sunday we were watching season 1, probably a few episodes in, Daenerys is on screen, and I looked at my boyfriend, I was like, this is going to be it. This is going to be what makes me finally do this. And he was like, you should. And so I did her season 1 look first. The look that you showed was from season 6.
Yep.
But her character just really spoke to me. Obviously, she's in a fantasy realm, in a fantasy world. There's not exact parallels, but a lot of her journey in coming into her power and having faith in herself is something I really, really related to. And I mean, she's got dragons. And the baby dragons were so cute in the end of season 1. I actually did an edit with one of my friends' cosplay edit stuff. He was kind enough to put Drogon on my shoulder. And it kind of spiraled from there. But really my connection with her was her journey into standing in her own power was something I really, really connected with.
So I like that. You had mentioned earlier in life you had your grandfather gave you a comic, and you saw that, and it kind of spurred that. Your group of friends got together and you had your own DeviantArt, and you went through all that. And then of course you put it on hold. You started a career, you went to school, you did all that stuff, and then you sat down, and it's as simple as one episode, one moment, and you just look over and go, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And how cool was
it was just all of a sudden it clicked, and I was like, I have to do this.
So I'll tell everybody, please go to her page, go to what we're talking about. She's got the eggs. By the way, I don't know where you got them. They're fantastic.
I made them.
You made them? Dude, totally kick-ass. Seriously, kick-ass eggs. You've got some, and I apologize. I don't know if it's you doing the edits or you have somebody doing the edits.
It depends on which edits. Any of the ones that have Drogon or any of the dragons really up close were probably done by my friend Cosplay Edits and stuff on Instagram. Anything else, the photo that you showed, I did that edit. So a lot of my photography, in fact, all of my photography right now is either self-shot or it's my boyfriend with my phone.
That's okay. And they're fantastic. Like you said earlier, you would never know I'm in a remote studio calling from a back room of some house in Florida. Just like you, some of your edits and some of your shots are fantastic. You'd never know it was just a And if I say iPhone, I don't know if it's an iPhone
Yeah,
or a Google.
but I mean, you gotta admit the cameras on these phones now can do incredible things.
Right,
so,
they're amazing. They're totally.
Yeah.
Carl Zeiss was the first one on a phone, and then after that, it was like the lenses was everything. Everybody wanted it. So I really appreciate that, and the history of my wife as well. Totally into the dragons. She came running in. They're baby dragons, and she was telling me everything.
Yeah.
Good.
So cute.
Great character and great. I think it was one of your first ones you did, right?
Yeah. So the photo you just showed was a recent, a different Daenerys cosplay, but the first one I did was her that I made was her season 1 cosplay. I purchased a cosplay from season 4 for her that was my very first ever, but I count the first one as the first one I made, so it was her season 1 look. But
so let's do this, because you've got, and I told you in honor of maybe the realm you're going to. So you've got fantasy, and then we're going to jump ship, because you said you grew up with and started with Marvel, but you jumped ship to DC. So let's do this. I want to talk about some of your DC characters. Let's talk about Zatanna. Why Zatanna, and why is she such a popular character for you? Because you've got multiple iterations and versions of what you put together. So why?
So I wish I had some really in-depth answer for this, but the reality is for classic Zatanna, I owned everything except the magic wand and the hat. I had all that. I had all those clothes.
Okay.
And I had a black wig, and I was like, oh, I can do that. And then the only thing I needed for the new 52 version of her was a white corset, which I was able to get, for like $15. And I was like, it's a no-brainer. I do really enjoy her character. I think she's a great foil for Constantine, for John Constantine, who I also love. So seeing them interact together in comics is always great, and in shows. But I really loved Zatanna in Young Justice. That's one of my favorite, maybe my favorite animated show. So I've always liked her and thought about cosplaying her, but it was kind of, I turned around and looked in my closet and I was like, oh, I have all the things I need. And both of those photos you showed were edited by Cosplay Edits and stuff. Those were not
edits and stuff, right?
Wanted to give credit where credit is due.
And I appreciate it, because we'll put it on the screen for sure. I definitely want to give those credits. Yep. So I like that, and I love the idea of we call it closet cosplay, where you just, like you said, I turned around and was like,
I have everything we need.
Here we go. Let's do this. So I love that, but let's jump ship to another DC that's a little bit maybe not as, and I'm looking for the picture here because it is here somewhere. I apologize. Oh, there it is. So let's talk about your Kid Flash. I'm a big Flash fan, and there's Zoom and Kid Flash, and there's everything. So Impulse, tell me about your Kid Flash and why.
So my Kid Flash is Wally, is a gender bend of Wally West. I called her Wendy West.
I love it.
Clever. But really, Young Justice and then some of the Teen Titans comics really got me associated with Wally's character. He's the class clown. He's the one who's always making jokes. And I'm not funny, straight up. I'm really not, sorry. I'm being honest.
Okay.
My best friends and I have a joke that if I say something funny, they should hold on to it because it's the only funny thing I'm going to say for the next month. So we've hit our quota. So I've always really liked his character. I loved his relationship with Artemis in Young Justice. And I mean, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it. Actually, I don't know if you've seen it, so I don't want to say.
No, you can. You can, please dish it out. It's great.
Okay. So when he dies, we're not sure if he goes into the Speed Force or if he's really dead. But for the whole season 3, they treat it as though he's gone. I was just bawling. I was not fine. And I really love his character. And I really loved the red suit, which is from one of I think it's the Titans 2016 run of comics.
Okay.
I just really liked the red and the blue, and I thought it was a little different than the yellow and red. So I went with that look, and then I got the goggles off Etsy, which are super cool and steampunk-ish.
I loved them. They're huge, and I loved them. Yep.
So those were amazing. It was a very fun cosplay put together and so comfortable. Arguably my most comfortable.
Okay. And so what's it like? I don't know if you do cons. I don't know if you go, obviously you got some edits. What's it like to walk around like Wally or Wendy, excuse me?
That is so easy. It's the nicest thing. I mean, despite the Arizona heat, I've never worn Wally or Wendy to a con, and things are closed down now for as long as we know, but that would definitely be one that I feel like on a Sunday of a con, I'd be like, yeah, let me wear that.
And just comfortable, you can run around and have a good time. And you're right, Wendy. Wally's a great character. I play a board game, a tabletop game called Hero Clicks, and it's a basically superheroes and chess is really what it is. But when Wally came out to one of his iterations, he could vibrate through walls instead of having to walk around the board. And it was just one of the coolest little things, man. He was kick ass.
I am so bad at chess, but that sounds like so much fun.
It's addictive. If you collect Funko Pops, if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh my gosh. So I was about to buy one the other day, and one of my best friends was like, she was like, wait until you have enough money to buy like 10. She was like, because you're gonna have to buy 10.
I've sold 3 1,000 figure Funko Pop collections in the last 6 years. I've had to just purge. So it's addictive, let me tell you. But the board game's very fun, and there's 1,000 characters to choose from, and it's so much
super cool.
fun.
And then they have abilities based off their character, which is awesome.
So let's talk about this, because again, with our theme here, I want to stick with DC, because in my game, this is one of my favorite character games, and I don't know much about it other than it's a maybe brother sister, or but let's talk about one that I'm really interested in, because this one here is Dove. Hawk and Dove, correct?
Yes.
Brother, sister, lovers, I don't know.
It depends on the comic or the show. The Titan show, they are in a relationship. I don't think they've ever been brother and sister. Don't quote me on that.
That's okay. I don't know either, so you're good.
I believe I'm thinking in Brightest Day, Birds of Prey. I don't think they're a couple. They're just partners. But they do balance each other. In that comic run, she's the avatar of peace, and she keeps Hank's anger under control. He's the avatar of war, and so they create this kind of yin-yang balance with each other. But in the Titan show, yes, they are in a relationship. So
let's talk about this, because Dove is, I don't think, one of the most cosplayed characters that I've seen out there, but this is a hell of a cosplay. One, I don't know what it took. There's a great shot of you, and I think you're in this structure right here, and you're flipping around, and Dove's wings are spread out, and I was like, my mom was like, that's badass. Look at what
your mom thought I was badass. I'm honored.
Dude, seriously, me and my mom were flipping through, picking pictures for this, and she was like, that's a kick-ass shot. And I didn't bring it and put it in because I want people to go see it. I want them to go experience it as they scroll through and see those, because what is it like to build this cosplay, or how did you?
Yeah, I can definitely talk about it. So this is actually this is my second build ever that was armor related. So I actually did a couple IGTV videos just going over how I made different pieces, because people wanted to know. So I was honored to do that, first of all. So if you're interested, those are on my page if you want specifics.
Cool.
But the suit itself was designed by Cyan Man Designs, and on Instagram, that's his handle. And then it was printed by Zente Zone, and I did custom sizing. So I can't take credit for that, but I did make the belt, the gauntlets, the breastplate, and the wings. The goggles are by Bob and Colin on Instagram. Essentially what I did is I had used Warbla for my Wonder Girl cosplay, Warbla and foam, and I was like, let's challenge ourselves and only use foam this time. Let's see what we learn. So there were definitely a lot of pros. It is, I think, my most comfortable armor build. Because the pieces are pretty flexible. It sits really nicely. I'm not like trying to clunk around with things that aren't flexible.
Sure.
The breastplate was a big project. As soon as I was like, oh, it won't be that hard. There's just multiple layers. And then I like blew up one of the promo photos of Minka Kelly as Dove, and I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, what did I just get myself into?
What did I see it? The detail, it's over here. The detail and how you get into the layers. Yeah.
So, and what you have to do to make sure that, because if you were to just layer all those pieces on top of each other, it would be super wide. So what I had to do is just basically pattern out and just add little bits to have something to glue to. So that was super fun though. And watching that come together was so gratifying. But I think my favorite piece of this build is the winged cape.
Yes.
The movement of it. And I was so scared to do this. I was like, oh my gosh, what if it turns out horrible? And so I used cheap white pleather, like vinyl, ordered it off Amazon, basically had help to measure across my shoulders. And then I basically screenshotted a ton of photos of her and tried to count how many wings were in each layer.
Okay.
Eventually I was like, okay, you know what? A guesstimate's good enough. Well, it's fine. So I did that, cut each strip, contact cemented all the layers together on the top, and then also hand stitched with a leather needle. And then I was like, oh crap, I didn't think about how I'm going to attach this to myself. So I reached out to a bunch of different friends, one of whom his ad is Neon Rasian. He's phenomenal with armor work. And I was like, how would you attach this to yourself? And he gave me the advice of actually getting a posture harness. We were like about to finish.
I was about to go in.
And then go back and realize we were not recording.
Okay. I promise you I'm not this disorganized.
You are fine. I am. So it's okay.
But I gotta tell you, so Brooke, when I saw your dove and I saw what you did, I was blown away. One, dove was always a fun one for my game, so I was always interested in, and when I saw this this detail and what have you. So again, your choices of characters and how you're drawn to your characters, I really think it's cool. But I kind of like your story. We were like, I'm gonna try it, and then when you realized, hell, what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
But it turned out amazing. Seriously, what a kick-ass dove. So I like, again, your DC world. So let's talk about your Wonder Girl. Tell me about Wonder Girl.
She, this is my first armor build.
Okay.
Ever. I had just purchased my DC Universe subscription, and I was like, I get to read as many comics as I want. And so I was like, basically, like, I knew I'd always loved Titans, Teen Titans. I love the team dynamic. I love solo stuff too, but really I wanted to dive back in with a team. And so I just typed in Teen Titans, and I was like, I'm going to read whatever comes up first. And it happened to be the new 52 Teen Titans, which people have some strong feelings about in terms of storyline. Totally get it. I agree. There were some weird just jumps and plot lines that I was like, how did we get here? But I really, really loved Cassie's design in this and her story. I know some people don't like that they changed her, but she became this kind of spunky, not like bad kid, but kind of bad kid. I mean, in the opening, in the first comic, Red Robin finds her after she'd stolen a convertible, you know? And her armor and the way that her powers come to be in that are really, really interesting. It's still the same story that her mother's an archaeologist and that she is on a dig with her and kind of comes across something. But what's interesting about this armor is it's called the Silent Armor, and it's linked to Trigon and the gods. And essentially it has its own goal and has its own brain, kind of like Blue Beetle's, I can't think of the name, Scarab.
Yes.
And so she has to fight to control it. It actually comes out of her skin. And there's a couple panels that show her bleeding when it's forming on her. And so that was one of my biggest struggles with this, is that I needed to have almost no visible attachments at all. Because I wanted it to look like it was just appearing on me. So you can see my shoulder strap, but I think other than that, I did a pretty good job of hiding it all.
Well, I thought it was a great effort. One, and again, your connection to your characters is always interesting. Wonder Girl is maybe not one of the more known characters.
Yeah.
And her story there, like you said, it's an interesting story as that suit is part of. And I love Trigon, the whole connection. Great characters and characters in this DC universe. And then these edits, I don't know, this one's got like a
move. Also cosplay edits and stuff as well, who added the lightning effect.
They do a badass job, right? So I think is great. All of your characters are leading up to the very first one that I came across, and I was like, I gotta go message her. Let's do this. Because when I see Robin, this is not, and again, everybody's iteration, everybody's version of what they decide to put together. But tell me about this Robin.
So I knew I wanted to do some sort of Stephanie Brown cosplay. I was toying with Spoiler, which is probably going to happen down the road, and also her Batgirl, which is definitely going to happen. Like, both of those are going to happen. But I was talking to a couple of my friends, and I was like, I think I want to do her. I was thinking, maybe I'll do her in a year or something. Like, I had a couple other plans, and then somebody was like, what would be cool is she was Robin for a short period of time, and she was arguably like the worst Robin. Like, let's just call it like it is. She kind of sucked.
Okay.
But her design was really cool, and so there were two designs. One, which is her like older school comic one, which is like a dress and it's really cute. And then there's one where it's like pants and a top. And I was like, neither of those are speaking to me, but this idea is speaking to me. And both my previous armor builds, this was my third, were Dove and Wonder Girl, which were completely focused on being as accurate as humanly possible, which is great. And it's fun, but it can also be really stressful when you don't have wiggle room. And so I started sketching out because I was like, well, I know I'm going to have to put a few tweaks on this no matter what, because the reality is I'm not a great seamstress. I didn't want to sew a ton of stuff. Most of my cloth pieces are purchased just because it's not my thing.
That's okay.
I can sew really simple stuff, but I'd prefer not to sew anything big. So I started sketching this out, and I actually found the corset I'm wearing on Amazon beforehand, and that kind of sparked this design because I was like, okay, that's a red corset. I can work with that. And then I took inspiration from the Titans design for both Jason Todd and Dick Grayson's Robins, where they have this kind of separated look, like in the breastplate. You can see it looks like multiple pieces, and it was. And so I wanted to kind of pay homage to that. The shoulder pieces, those like rivets in them and designs, that was totally added on the fly. That was not planned, but I was like, ooh, this might look cool. So I did that. The emblem and the buckle are from Bob and Colin, who also made my Dove goggles. And those were just beautiful pieces. I was stoked to include. The buckle on the breastplate actually attaches with a magnet because I have extra buckles. So in case anything would ever happen, I have extras. So this is a pretty comfortable armor build too. The only one that's really not is Wonder Girl, because it was my first one, didn't know what I was doing, can't wear that thing for more than 10 minutes.
Okay.
But Robin it was really fun to do my own design. That actually is what I'm doing right now for Ravager. That's what I'm working on right now, my own design of her. So it sparked that whole thing, but I genuinely love how that Stephanie Brown Robin turned out. It was so cool to see it come together.
Okay, so as I fanboy when I meet my guests and stuff, as I get to, and don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed your Doves. I enjoyed everything you've put together. But man, when I came across that Robin, because again, I'm a Batman fan. Batman is my DC character. And when I saw that version of your Robin, I was like, how kick-ass was that? So, Brooke, when we get to this point and we get to it, one, I don't know what you spent on your DC Universe subscription. Well worth it, because I can tell you, every Wally, every Dove, every Trigon, everybody you're getting into is you've spent the time to either experience them and see why, and then you've decided to jump into those. I think it's awesome. And again, I'll tell you this probably a dozen times throughout but thank you for being here. But this is more about you. I talk a lot. I try to edit myself out, but this is you. I told you I don't have a job. I don't have anywhere to be. I just love to meet the cosplayers that are out there and share you with the world. So this is your platform. This is for you. Is there anything you want to tell? And I'll call it your audience, because this isn't my audience. When people come to this show, they're here to see you. So this is your audience. What do you want to tell them? Anything.
If you're thinking about starting to cosplay, just do it. Just don't wait because you're nervous or scared. I mean, there definitely is some toxicity in the community that I think is problematic, but I've also, like, one of my very best friends in this whole world lives in Canada, and this is how we met. And so, you'll find the people who are good and who are positive. And I would say that most of my experiences have been positive, but just don't be afraid to start and don't be afraid to fail. I've thrown so many things away. I mean, just because they weren't usable. And you don't often see that part of the process on Instagram, but know that everybody else is learning too. None of us that are doing this are professionals. So if you're thinking about starting it, just start and pick characters you connect with. Don't pick characters just because you think they'll do well on social media or because you feel like you should. All of my builds are characters I've found a connection to. And that made the process a lot more fun. So that would be my advice and just what I would want people to know, especially about cosplay.
Well, Brooke, I appreciate it. As I bring you all on and I afford you the opportunity to just speak this is again, your time to just share. I see a lot of that and I hear a lot of that. Positive communities, great people you've met. Yes, I like the word you use, toxicity. And there are some assholes out there and they're going to be out there. That's fine. That's going to happen.
There always is in every community, honestly.
Right. Absolutely. But like you said, shrug them off, move on, do your thing, and just keep moving forward with whatever it is you want to do. And if it's characters you like and characters you want to be, go be them. And if it's something you want to go try it. And if it doesn't work out, it's okay to trash it and move on. I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah. And I think, sorry, there's a little bit of a delay. I think
I just saw that.
So, I mean, that's one of the things, like, I just finished a version of Injustice 2 Starfire that I just posted today. Hammer for it. And, yes, that would be it.
I was going to sneak it in there. I didn't want to show everybody. I didn't want to do it. I was going to tell them, go see your page because she dropped something new. That was it. That was the teaser. I'm not putting anything else out there.
But I had made, in certain versions of that skin on the video game, she has leg armor. And I made leg armor, and I really liked it. And I painted it, and the color match was perfect. And then I tried it all on, and I was like, I actually don't like it with the leg armor. And I was like, oh, well, that's okay. I mean, it happens. Sure. And, it was still, you want to think about everything. Tigger, no. He can grip doorknobs, and he tries to open them. So, sounds breaking in, but it's just so it's okay to not end up using things. Okay to throw things away. It's okay to mess up. Like, I feel like a lot of us think everybody's getting it right on the first try, and the reality is we're just not. But that Starfire one, I was so excited to share it. It's one of my favorite things. So yes, please go check it out. There's going to be a lot more of that coming too.
Okay. And I did. I just saw it just before I came in. Yeah. I was setting up, and I was like, well, maybe she doesn't want it literally. But you know what? I'm going to just tease it and just throw it up there for a second.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Those green fire blasts that I'm holding are also, those were so fun to make. Old Fashioned Nerd on Instagram was like, hey, if you ever want a green fire prop for your Starfire, and he told me how he made his Green Lantern prop.
Yep.
And they're actually made from green plastic party cups that I use my heat gun on and melted, which is just brilliant. Brilliant with him. And so I did that, and they're like the best props. Like, it's always disappointing. I love having something to mess with, like grappling hook. And Dove, I guess I didn't have anything. It's fun to have something to mess with. And so when he was like, hey, there's an easy way to do this, you don't have to always edit it in, I was like, sign me up.
Well, I got to tell you, Brooke, for being here, thank you. It's been a blast having you on. It's been a joy. I want everybody to go out and check your page. And we're going to make sure, again, we get your names, your credits to everybody that's been a part of your cosplay world. And we're going to share that. It's been great. I've enjoyed it. It's awesome to see what you've put in, what your talents are, what your passions are, and just to get you out there and get you seen. I love the fact that we can share you to the cosplay world. I think it's going to be a good one.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun. You probably don't need to have me on again, but if you ever want to, for any reason, I'm down. We can talk comics. We can talk anything. It was super, super fun for me. And it was just great to connect with other people in the community who are interested in the same things that, you love and are passionate about. So thank you so much.
You're quite welcome. And I couldn't have said any better. To tell you the truth, Brooke, I'm going to share you to the world. I'm glad that you're out there doing what you do. And to everybody else that's watching this episode, definitely go see Tatted Khaleesi on Instagram and make sure when you connect with Brooke, you get to see some of the awesomeness that she's got. This has been a great episode of the Creative Cosplay Corner. I'm Cable Rose. We've got Brooke on the other end of the country right now. And to everybody else out there, we'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Bye.
Let me just